When I collapsed at work, the doctors called my parents. They never came. Instead, my sister tagged me in a photo. Family day without the drama. When I collapsed at work, the doctors called my emergency contact. My mother, she never answered, but 2 hours later, my sister tagged me in a photo from a family picnic with the caption Family Day Without the Drama. That was when I knew I was completely alone. 4 days later, still recovering, I got 78 missed calls and one message from my dad. We need you. Answer immediately. What they needed was not me. What they needed was access. What came next was their final attempt to erase me before I erased them. I had been feeling off for weeks. The headaches, the dizziness, the chest tightness that came and went like waves, but I pushed through it because that is what I always did. That is what I was trained to do. Be reliable, be available, be the one who never said no. My name is Claire, and for 32 years, I was the youngest daughter in a family that looked perfect from the outside. My mother Linda ran the PTA when we were kids. My father Roger owned a small accounting firm downtown. My older sisters Kayla and Brooke were the golden children. Kayla with her fashion blog and 10,000 Instagram followers. Brooke with her real estate license and perfect engagement ring. And then, there was me, the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who somehow ended up with my name on 5 different family accounts, 3 credit cards that were not mine, and a co-signature on loans I never took out. You want to know something strange? I cannot remember a single birthday where they asked me what I wanted. Not one. But I remember every single time they needed something. Claire, can you cover mom's car payment this month? Claire, Brooke's apartment application needs a cosigner with better credit. Claire, Kayla's business needs a quick investment just until she gets on her feet. I said yes, every time. Not because I was weak, because I thought that was what love looked like. Sacrifice, without recognition, support, without reciprocation. I thought, if I gave enough, eventually, they would see me. Really see me. I was wrong. The day I collapsed was a Monday. I remember because I had 3 client presentations lined up and a conference call with Seattle at 4. I stood up to grab water from the break room, and the next thing I knew, I was staring at fluorescent hospital lights with wires attached to my chest. The nurse told me I had been out for almost an hour. My coworker Amanda had called the ambulance. She probably saved my life. The doctor said it was a cardiac arrhythmia brought on by chronic stress and exhaustion. My heart had literally tried to stop because I would not. They asked for my emergency contact. I gave them my mother's number, then my father's, then Kayla's. No one answered. The nurse, this sweet woman named Patricia, sat with me for a while. She held my hand and said, "Sometimes people get scared of hospitals. Maybe they were on their way. By the way, if you are watching this from somewhere far from your family, drop your city in the comments. I want to know where you are listening from, because I have a feeling you might understand what comes next." 3 hours passed. Then 6. Then 12. Nothing. No calls. No texts. No visits. I kept checking my phone, thinking maybe the signal was bad. Maybe they had not gotten the message. Maybe there was traffic. Maybe anything except the truth. Then I saw it. Instagram notification. Kayla had tagged me in a photo. There they were, all 4 of them, sitting around a picnic table at Lake Giacomo. My mother's famous deviled eggs on display. My father manning the grill. Brooke, laughing at something on her phone. And Kayla, taking the selfie with that practiced influencer smile. The caption hit me like a second heart attack. In Family Day, without the drama. They had tagged me while I was lying in a hospital bed with monitors tracking whether my heart would keep beating, and they tagged me in a photo celebrating my absence, like I was the problem they had finally solved. I stared at that photo for 20 minutes, read the caption over and over, looked at the comments from their friends. So wholesome. Family goals. You all look so happy. Not one person asked where I was. That was when something inside me shifted. She not broke. Shifted. Like tectonic plates, realigning. After decades of pressure, I realized I had not been part of the family. I had been staff, and apparently, I had just been laid off. The next morning, a different nurse came in with paperwork. She mentioned that they still had not reached my emergency contacts. I told her not to bother trying anymore. She gave me this look, not pity exactly, but understanding, like she had seen this before. Then my phone rang. Not my family. Grandpa Joe. Which hospital? That was all he said. No. Hill. In just which hospital? 40 minutes later, he walked through the door. Same Denver Broncos cap he had worn since 1998. Same Timex watch. Same way of seeing straight through everything to what actually mattered. He sat down, looked at the machines, looked at me, and said, "So they finally pushed you too far." I just nodded. There was nothing else to say. Grandpa Joe was my father's father, but he had never been like the rest of them. He had watched from the sidelines for years, occasionally dropping comments that seemed random at the time, but now made perfect sense. You cannot pour from an empty cup, kiddo. Some people take until there is nothing left to take. Being family does not mean being a doormat. He pulled out his tablet and asked me a question that changed everything. You want to see what you have really been doing all these years? For the next 2 hours, we went through everything. Every automatic payment I had set up, every loan I had co-signed, every bill I was covering. The numbers were staggering. Mom's car payment, $450 a month for 3 years. Kayla's business loans, $12,000 that she had stopped mentioning after her boutique failed. Brooke's apartment deposit, and 3 months of emergency rent, $6,200. Dad's mortgage help during his slow season, $8,000 that somehow became my permanent responsibility. In total, I had given them over $70,000 in the last 5 years. $70,000 while living in a 1-bedroom apartment and driving a car with 180,000 miles on it. But it was not just the money, it was the credit cards in my name that they used, the utilities under my social security number, the loan applications with my signature. I was not just supporting them, I was legally liable for their entire lifestyle. Grandpa Joe helped me make a list. Then he called his lawyer. By that afternoon, we had started the process, canceled every automatic payment, removed myself from every account I could, froze the credit cards, filed fraud reports for the loans I never authorized, changed every password, removed their access to everything. It felt like performing surgery on myself, cutting away parts that had been grafted onto me for so long, I forgot they were not mine to carry. The silence lasted exactly 4 days. 4 days of recovery, of tests, of nurses checking on me, of Grandpa Joe bringing me real food from outside, because hospital jello should be illegal. 4 days of peace. Then my phone exploded. 78 missed calls, 43 text messages, 12 voicemails, all within 2 hours. The first text was from Kayla. "What did you do?" The second from Brooke. "Claire, this is not funny. Fix this now." The third from Mom. "I am disappointed in your behavior." And finally, from Dad. "We need you. Answer immediately. If you have ever been the strong one until it nearly killed you, hit that like button." Stories like this need to be heard. Trust me, you are not alone in this. I did not respond to any of them. Instead, I called the one person who had never asked me for anything. I called Grandpa Joe back. "They are panicking," I told him. "Good," he said. "Let them." But they did not just panic. They escalated. It started with Mom calling the hospital, pretending she had just heard about my admission. Patricia, the nurse from my first day, was on duty. She told me later that my mother demanded to speak to my doctor, claimed she needed to make medical decisions for me, tried to get my room number. Patricia, bless her, followed protocol. Without written permission from me, she could not share anything. My mother threatened to sue. Patricia calmly gave her the number for hospital administration and hung up. Then came Brooke. She showed up at the hospital, claiming to be my medical proxy. Security stopped her at the desk. She made a scene, posted a tearful video in the parking lot about how the hospital was keeping her from her sick sister. The video got 12 likes before she deleted it. Kayla tried a different approach. She messaged my coworkers on LinkedIn, told them I was having a mental breakdown, said the family was trying to help, but I was being irrational. My manager, who had visited me the day before and knew exactly what was happening, screenshot the messages and sent them to HR. But the worst part came from my father. He sent an email to my personal account with the subject line "Final Warning." The email read, "Claire, your recent actions show a concerning pattern of instability. Your mother and I are prepared to take legal action to protect you from yourself. This is your last chance to correct your mistakes before we involve the courts." They were threatening me. while I was still recovering from a stress-induced heart condition they had contributed to. They were threatening me. That was when Grandpa Joe revealed something I never knew. This was not the first time they had done this. 20 years ago, my uncle Michael had tried to break away from the family. He had moved to Portland, started his own business, stopped sending money home. They had tried the same thing with him. Threatened legal action, claimed he was unstable, tried to get power of attorney. Uncle Michael disappeared after that, not literally, but from the family. I had not seen him since I was 12. They told us he had abandoned everyone, that he was selfish, that he had chosen money over family. Now I understood that he had chosen sanity. Grandpa Joe had been keeping receipts all these years. Not just financial ones, but emails, recordings, messages. He had watched his own son, my father, turn into someone he did not recognize, watched my mother enable it, watched my sisters learn that manipulation was easier than accountability. And he had been waiting for someone else to see it too. I have already moved everything, he told me. The house, the investments, the trust. It is all in a protected account. They cannot touch it. I did not understand at first. Moved it where? To the only person who never asked for it, he said. You. I started crying then. Not because of the money or the protection, but because for the first time in my life, someone had chosen me, not what I could do for them, not what I could provide, just me. The next day, I received a formal letter from a law firm I had never heard of. My family was filing for emergency conservatorship. They claimed I was mentally unfit to handle my own finances, that my recent erratic behavior, meaning cutting them off, was proof of psychological distress requiring intervention. They wanted control, legal, binding control over my life. But they had made a mistake, several actually. First, they had filed while I was still in the hospital, with documented medical issues that had nothing to do with mental capacity. Second, they had left a paper trail of their financial dependence on me, which any judge would see as motive. Third, and most importantly, they had underestimated Grandpa Joe's lawyer. Within 24 hours we had filed a response, medical records showing I was fully competent, employment verification that I was still working, just on medical leave, bank statements showing years of one-sided financial support, and a beautiful cease and desist letter that made it clear any further harassment would result in immediate legal action. The conservatorship was dismissed before it even reached a hearing, but my family was not done. If they could not control me legally, they would try to control the narrative. Claire Will posted a series of Instagram stories, black backgrounds with white text, quotes about family betrayal, mental health awareness, and loving someone through their darkness. She never used my name, but the timing was not subtle. Brooke went on Facebook, wrote a long post about how addiction and mental illness can tear families apart, how she was praying for healing and restoration, how she would always love her sister, no matter what. The comments poured in, hearts and prayers, and people asking what happened. My mother started calling relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins I had not spoken to in years, telling them I had snapped, that I was having some kind of breakdown, that they were trying to help, but I was pushing everyone away. The narrative was clear, and I was sick, I was unstable, I was the problem. Here is the thing about social media. It works both ways. I had never been one to post much. My Instagram had maybe 40 photos total, mostly sunsets and coffee cups, but I had followers, coworkers, college friends, people who actually knew me, so I posted once, just once, a photo of me in the hospital bed with Grandpa Joe beside me. No filters, no fake smile, just truth. The caption was simple. Sometimes, silence is not weakness. It is restraint. That was all. No accusations, no family drama, no details, just that one line. But people are not stupid. They saw the hospital gown. They saw the date. They did the math with Kyla's Family Day post. The comments started immediately. Wait, were you in the hospital when they posted that picnic photo? Claire, are you okay? What happened? This timeline is not adding up. Someone, I never found out who, posted a screenshot comparison. My hospital photo, next to Kayla's family picnic. The timestamps told the whole story. While I was hooked to machines, they were celebrating my absence. The internet turned on them instantly. Kayla lost 3,000 followers in 2 days. Her brand partnerships started pulling out. One company, publicly stated they could not support influencers who did not represent their values of family and compassion. Brooke's real estate page got review bombed. People who had never worked with her left one-star ratings with screenshots of her posts. Her broker called and suggested she take a social media break. My father's accounting firm received calls asking if this was the Roger who abandoned his daughter in the hospital. He was placed on administrative leave, pending a PR assessment. My mother's phone rang so much she had to change her number. And through all of this, I said nothing. Not one word, not one post, not one response. Silence, it turns out, is the loudest response you can give. A week later, I was discharged. Grandpa Joe picked me up in his old Ford pickup, the one that smelled like coffee and WD-40. We drove past my apartment without stopping. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere you can actually recover, he said. We ended up at his cabin in Colorado, a place I had only been to once, as a kid. 2 bedrooms, a wood-burning stove, and the kind of quiet that makes you realize how loud your life has been. That first night, sitting on the porch watching the stars, Grandpa Joe told me the truth about Uncle Michael. He had not abandoned the family. He had survived it. He was living in Portland, running a successful tech company, married with 2 kids, happy. He wanted to reach out, Grandpa Joe said, but he knew they would use you and your sisters against him. They would have made you choose sides. So he chose to let us think he was the bad guy? He chose peace over perception. There is a difference. I sat with that for a long time. Peace over perception. Was that not what I was doing now? My phone buzzed. Another message from my father. This one was different, formal, legal. He had rewritten his will. I was officially disinherited, unless I returned to the family and, quote, made amends for the damage caused. I looked at it for maybe 30 seconds. Then I forwarded it to the lawyer with a simple request. His draft a response that legally acknowledged I wanted nothing from them. No inheritance, no connection, no obligation. Make it permanent. The document came back the next day, a legal disavowal of all familial financial claims, a formal no-contact directive, a medical directive, removing them as emergency contacts, and a name change petition, dropping their last name and taking Grandpa Joe's mother's maiden name instead. I signed it all without hesitation. If choosing peace over toxicity resonates with you, subscribe to this channel. You are not alone in choosing yourself, and sometimes that is the bravest choice you can make. The final attempt came 2 weeks later, a thick envelope, delivered by certified mail. Inside were photos. Every family photo from my childhood, every birthday, every Christmas, every vacation, and a letter in my mother's handwriting. These belong to you. Since you have chosen to erase us, we thought you should have the evidence of what you are throwing away. We loved you, Claire. We still do, but love requires forgiveness, and you seem incapable of that. When you are ready to apologize and come home, we will be here. Apologize. After everything they wanted me to apologize. I looked through the photos that night, saw myself in the background of most of them. The quiet kid holding someone's bag, the teenager working in the kitchen while everyone else opened presents, the young adult smiling while exhausted, probably from the double shifts I worked to help with their bills. In every photo, I was there but not really there. Present, but not seen. Included, but not celebrated. But then I found one photo at the bottom. It was different. Just me and Grandpa Joe at my high school graduation. I was holding my honors certificate, and he was looking at me, not the camera, looking at me like I mattered. I kept that one, burned the rest in the cabin's fireplace. That night, I made a decision, not out of anger or revenge, but out of clarity. I was done trying to earn love from people who only knew how to take. Done explaining myself to those who refused to listen. Done shrinking so others could feel big. I called Uncle Michael. Grandpa Joe had given me his number. He answered on the 3rd ring. Claire? His voice was cautious, like he could not believe it was real. Yeah, it is me. There was silence for a moment. Then he said, how bad did it get before you got out? Heart arrhythmia, and a week in the hospital. He sighed. Mine was a panic attack that they tried to institutionalize me for. You are stronger than I was. No, I told him. I just had better help. We talked for 3 hours that night, about the family, about the patterns, about the guilt that still sometimes crept in. He told me it took 5 years before he stopped checking their social media. 7. before he stopped feeling responsible for their problems. 10 before he realized he had never been the problem at all. The best revenge, he said, is living a life they cannot touch. So that is what I did. Grandpa Joe and I fixed up the cabin together. I took a remote position with my company, working at my own pace, started seeing a therapist who specialized in family trauma, joined a hiking group in town, learned to make sourdough bread because why not? Started reading again, all those books I never had time for when I was too busy saving everyone else. 6 months passed. The messages slowed, then stopped. The social media posts about me disappeared. The extended family stopped calling. It was like I had died, except I was more alive than I had ever been. Then, exactly 1 year after my collapse, I got a notification. Kayla had tagged me in something. Against my better judgment, I looked. It was not a photo. It was a GoFundMe. It's for my parents. They had lost the house. Dad's business had folded after the PR disaster. Mom was working retail. They needed help with basic expenses. The fundraiser had been up for a week. It had raised $200, mostly from the same relatives who used to praise their perfect family. Clairla's description was a masterpiece of manipulation. How they had faced unexpected hardships, how medical bills had destroyed them, implying mine without saying it, how their youngest daughter had abandoned them in their time of need. How family was about forgiveness and second chances. The comments section was brutal. People had not forgotten the hospital incident. Screenshots resurfaced. The truth was repeated over and over by strangers who remembered. The fundraiser was taken down 3 days later. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt, not anger, just nothing. They were strangers now. People I used to know and a life I used to live. That same week I got another call, and this time from Brooke. I did not answer, but she left a voicemail. Her voice was different, smaller, broken. Claire, I know you hate us. I know we ruined everything, but I need you to know that I see it now. I see what we did. What I did. I am in therapy, trying to understand how we became this.
How I became this.
I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not expect anything. I just wanted you to know that you were right about all of it.
And I am sorry. I am so sorry.
I listened to it twice, then deleted it. Maybe she meant it. Maybe she was changing. But that was her journey now, not mine. 2 years have passed since my collapse. I still live in Colorado with Grandpa Joe. We added a greenhouse to the cabin where I grow vegetables, and he pretends to help, but mostly just drinks coffee and tells stories. I teach coding at the local community center on weekends. Started dating a guy named David, who owns the hardware store, and has never once asked me to co-sign anything. My heart is healthy, and my therapist says the arrhythmia was my body's way of forcing me to stop when my mind would not. A physical rebellion against a lifetime of emotional labor. Last month, I legally changed my name. Claire Sullivan now, Grandpa Joe's mother's name. He cried when the papers came through, said she would have been proud. I built a life they cannot touch. A small, quiet, beautiful life where my worth is not measured in what I provide, but in who I am. Where love is not transactional. Where family is chosen, not endured. Sometimes I wonder about them, not with longing, but with the kind of distant curiosity you might have about strangers. She knowed? Are they okay? Did they learn? Did they change? But then I remember that those are not my questions to answer anymore. Uncle Michael was right. The best revenge is a life they cannot touch. But he was also wrong about one thing. It is not revenge at all. It is freedom. The other day, someone asked me if I regret cutting them off, if I miss having a family. I told them the truth. No, I did not lose a family. I escaped a hostage situation. The family I have now, Grandpa Joe, Uncle Michael, the friends who became my chosen siblings, David, who makes me laugh every single day, that is real family. Family is not DNA. It is not obligation. It is not putting up with abuse because you share blood. Family shows up at the hospital. Family respects boundaries. Family celebrates your success without taking credit. Family loves you without a transaction receipt. I know some of you watching this are still trapped, still co-signing loans you cannot afford, still covering bills that are not yours, still being told you are selfish for having boundaries, still collapsing under the weight of everyone else's expectations. Let me tell you something. It took me 32 years and a heart arrhythmia to learn. You cannot save people who are committed to sinking. You cannot heal those who profit from your wounds. You cannot earn love from those who only value transactions. But you can save yourself, even when they call you selfish, even when they post about family betrayal, even when they try to legally control you, even when they rewrite history to make you the villain. You can choose peace over perception, distance over drama, healing over harming yourself to keep others comfortable. It might cost you everything loud, but it will give you everything quiet. The peaceful mornings, the stress-free phone, the bank account they cannot drain, the heart that beats steady and strong, because it is not carrying everyone else anymore. I am Claire Sullivan now. I am 34 years old. I live in a cabin in Colorado with my grandfather, who chose me when my parents would not. I grow my own vegetables, and bake my own bread, and sleep 8 hours every night. My family says I abandoned them. The truth is, I abandoned the idea that their love was worth dying for, and for the first time in my entire life, I am actually living. If you have made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for witnessing. And if you are still in it, still struggling, still wondering if you are the crazy one for wanting more than crumbs, you are not. You are not dramatic. You are not selfish. You are not the problem. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself is to love them from a distance so vast they cannot reach you with their hands out anymore. Choose yourself, even if it breaks their heart, especially if it saves yours. Peace is not about getting the apology, it is about no longer needing it.